Hi, welcome, and thanks for tuning in. This is Samir, and today we are going to talk about the definition of meditation, what it means to meditate, what it really involves in meditating. So, kind of understand the real meaning of meditation or to meditate and what it actually involves. So, we can start with the dictionary definition. If you pick up any reputed popular dictionary and if you try to look up the meaning of word to meditate or meditation, then you'll find that to meditate means to think deeply, to think carefully, to analyze carefully, um, or some sort of reflection or contemplation. So it has that kind of careful thinking or careful reflecting, that kind of notion, kind of a mental analysis or something. And it's probably easy for us to kind of understand that because we use the term in that way, right? We say that let me meditate on this topic, or I am meditating on this idea, or something like that because we say that when we mean that let me think deeply about that, let me reflect on that. When an important decision has to be made, then we want to kind of mentally analyze the factors associated with that decision or something like that, or factors associated with a topic or something like that. So we use it in that sense of kind of a careful thinking, deep thinking, careful reflection, careful analysis, careful mental analysis. And if you try to find the root word and root meaning of the word to meditate, then you will find that it comes from a Latin root, which is the name of that root is meditare, and um, there are probably more than one meanings of that Latin root, but the European meaning of that root is to measure. So, it, in my mind, I think the root meaning is implying to the fact that when we are deeply thinking about that, deeply reflecting on something, mentally, carefully, mentally analyzing something, we are trying to measure up something. We are trying to measure up a topic or idea or something. So the root meaning is indicative of that, that it's we are trying to essentially measure up something by a deep thinking or mental analysis or a reflection. Um, and I came across a pretty interesting interpretation of the root meaning to measure by John Kabat-Zinn. He is a real pioneer in the field of mindfulness, and we will talk more about mindfulness and about John and his work and all that. We'll probably cover that in a separate video, separate videos. But I just wanted to mention that because he has a pretty elegant interpretation of the root meaning of the word to meditate, the root meaning to measure. So he says that measure is not kind of pointing to the standard popular notion of measure, which is that when we talk about to measure or measuring, we what we are referring to is we take measure tape and we try to measure the width or the length or height of some object. He said that's not what it's pointing to here. But he said the root meaning is pointing to the Platonic notion of measure. And the Platonic notion of measure is that everything has an inward measure. Everything has a kind of inward right measure. We talk about the measure of a man. So it's that measure that is being pointed to here. And John says that the root meaning is kind of pointing to the right inward measure of us, means whoever is right inward measure of a person who is meditating. And he says that he kind of expounds this, that the meditation is the direct perception of the right inward measure. And the right inward measure is ultimately the way the things are. So the meditation is the direct perception of the way things are, or the direct perception of the right inward measure. And that for someone who is new, that maybe it may be difficult to appreciate this interpretation of the root meaning of the word to meditate. And I understand that, and I only mention that because it's an interesting interpretation, and I think one really has to kind of approach the idea of meditation kind of a gradually, in a step-by-step fashion, in order to kind of appreciate this interpretation, as well as kind of really appreciate this practice. So for that, we will kind of go back and start with like a more kind of a mundane aspects of meditation, and what kind of a normal meaning of meditation, and we'll kind of go from there. We'll kind of start from there. So going back to the dictionary definition again, you may find that more than one meanings may be listed. There may be a second meaning of the word to meditate listed in the dictionary. Now, you may not find the second meaning listed everywhere, but the second meaning that I'm talking about is the idea of meditation as a mental exercise. So you will find this first meaning of deep thinking or reflection or contemplation, but then you'll also find the second meaning of meditation as a mental exercise. And the reason I'm saying you may not find the second meaning, because the idea of meditation as a mental exercise is not a very widely accepted idea. I mean, not many people accept meditation as some kind of mental exercise. So you may not find it listed there. But here, when I talk about meditation, I am referring to a mental exercise, and we are just basically trying to understand more about the meaning of the word meditation. Now, I think, again, this is my opinion, and I may be wrong, but I think the meditation as a mental exercise is an older phenomena than the association of meditation as to measure something. I think that meditation as a some kind of activity is um, is a very old activity. You find the reference of meditations thousands of years back, maybe 2,000 to 3,000 years back. You go and you find in the literature that people were doing this certain mental exercise. People were kind of sitting and closing their eyes, and what seemed like they were doing nothing. People were doing this activity, what we now call meditation. So I think people were doing this activity for one or the other reason. They were doing that for a long time. And then I think in trying to make sense of that, one of the ideas that kind of came up was that a person, when he's trying to do something, is trying to really deeply thinking about something and trying to measure up something. And in that context, the main definition of word to meditate evolved as to measure something, and in that trying to measure something, um, thinking deeply about things, or reflecting or contemplating. So that's kind of my idea. I mean, you can challenge that. I may be wrong, but I think that's more likely. That sounds more likely to me. And so this is kind of, if you try to kind of do some research and try to figure out the meaning of meditation, this is where you will kind of end up that you may find like more than one meaning of the word, and the primary meaning you'll come across is this kind of deep thinking, or careful thinking, or careful mental analysis. But the thing is, you will not kind of, it's hard to kind of understand what it really is unless you start practicing. So I'm going to propose a definition, or some meaning of meditation, and it's not something new. It's many people kind of talk about it in that sense. But what I'm trying to say is that um, I only came to understand what meditation is experientially, means only after I started doing it. That's when I realized what it is. So I spent lots of time meditating, and then over the period of time, this I realized that this is what it is. And it's actually not, it's fairly simple for you to kind of figure this out. If you go to any good teacher and then you listen to the instructions, then it becomes very obvious that what it is. But what happens is, when you start practicing, you may, and when you when, and in a while, I'll tell you exactly, what I think it is. You may find a certain conflict, or you may find a paradox. So I'm kind of trying to kind of set the stage for that conflict or the paradox. And the conflict is that, although it seems like the popular meaning is indicating that its meditation is associated with some kind of thinking or analyzing, in reality it is not. It's kind of actually not thinking or analyzing. And that's why I'm kind of I'm saying that, I'm pointing out that, you may feel that there is a certain conflict or paradox that's involved if you try to kind of look at the popular definition of meditation, and if you try to compare that with uh, um, meditation instructions that you may get from a meditation teacher. So in meditation instruction, what we say is that when you want to meditate, you pick an object of meditation. You pick something. You pick a breath. You pick a visual image, and then you try to pay attention that, and you try to hold your attention on that object of meditation. So essentially, what you're trying to do is you're trying to practice um, practice attending to something. You're trying to focus on something, you're trying to concentrate on something, and you're trying to maintain that concentration. So in that sense, meditation, the mental activity, is nothing but attention training. You pick an object and you try to attend to that object. And what happens, you soon find out that paying attention is very difficult for us. We cannot pay attention to one thing for long periods of time, because that's how our mind works. You try to pay attention, but you soon find out that very soon your mind kind of wanders away and you start thinking about other things. And we don't even realize this initially, but it's difficult for us to pay attention. That's why we say that, like, it's like a limited resource, right? Our attention is like a limited resource. That's why we say one has to pay it. So it's so the meditation is nothing else but attention training. That's the definition that I am kind of reiterating here. Um, and just like, we train our physical body, we train it for running, we train our muscles. We want to build muscles, then we go and lift weights in the gym. And what we do is we repeatedly lift weights to train our muscles. If you want to train our body to run long distances, then we repeatedly run long distances. Just like that, we are like very used to physical training, right? We repeat certain activity in order to train ourselves. Just like that, meditation is mental training, and in mental training, we repeat certain mental activity, and that is paying attention. So we find an object, we pay attention to that object. And then we find that it's difficult, we get lost, we are not able to pay attention, and we start doing other things, like we start thinking. And when we realize that we are not paying attention to the object that we are supposed to, we bring ourselves back. So that's what we do. We kind of try to repeat that activity. We try to continue to do just one activity of paying attention to something. That's what meditation is. So to summarize what I said in this video, I said that if you try to find the popular definition of of word meditation, or to meditate, you will find out that the popular meaning is to think deeply, to reflect, to contemplate, or to think carefully, analyze something carefully, do some mental analysis. That's the popular definition. And the actual activity is not thinking, but is the attention training in the context of the meditation as a mental activity. And I kind of try to talk that, it seems like the mental activity is probably is something is an age-old kind of phenomena. It has that activity has been around for a long time. People have been doing that for a long time, and maybe kind of it has been mislabeled as a as a deep thinking, because it appears to be deep thinking, but it's really not deep thinking. It's First of all, it's attention training, and I kind of also kind of alluded that in it can also be thought of as a direct perception of right inward measure ultimately. And that's where the both meanings will converge, the meaning of to measure and the meaning of some kind of a mental activity of attention training. But that's kind of the ultimate goal, and we want to kind of approach that goal kind of progressively, slowly, gradually. So again, kind of to repeat one last time, meditation is attention training. And we'll kind of try to kind of expand on this more in future videos. Maybe we can start talking more about the kind of the actual practical aspects of that, how to start, and what are the kind of common do's and don'ts of meditation, what are the tips that can help, and things like that. So I talked for a long time. It's almost 20 minutes. And I would really appreciate if you can provide me your feedback about this video. Ask me questions, challenge me, um, uh, write your comments or anything. Please engage if you can. And I will soon post a new video, and we'll probably talk more about meditation. So again, thanks for watching this video, and I will see you soon. Bye.